Hi there, Tim Bauer here from LiveVideoGuitarLessons.com with the practice tip of the day. This one is for the intermediate player, and today I want to talk about a style of playing. I just like to call it a loose arpeggio. And it's common with ballads and slower songs. It sounds a little something like this. Yeah, and what's going on there? Um, when you're learning a song by your favorite artist or favorite song or whatever, a lot of times when they're playing a slow song, they're just kind of free flowing it like that. They're not playing specific notes, and you can tell when they are, because the same note will fall in the same place every single time. But more often than not, they're just kind of winging it, and so you want to know how to do that. And since the artist himself or herself is not reading music and doing it exactly the same way, there's no reason for you to try to completely emulate what they're doing, because they're not going to play it the same way every time, and so there's no reason for you to learn it that way. So unless you want to, of course. But this is a good technique to know. All right, so what's going on there? There are two main things you have to do. The main thing is that most of the notes don't matter. I mean, what arpeggio means, it means you're taking a chord and you're playing the individual notes out of the chord. So all the notes belong because you're holding the chord, and that is a musical term. A loose arpeggio, I call it loose arpeggio because it just means it's not specific. The notes, most of the notes don't matter. It doesn't matter which one you hit; they all belong. So, the one that does matter though is your root note. And what I was doing, like when I was playing my G chord, you want to establish the chord with your root note. So almost always that's the one you want to hit first. Not always, but because music's very subjective. But most of the time that sets up the chord for whatever you're going to do next. So I played my G chord for a full measure. So I want to make sure that I got my root note on beat 1, and I did all those on beat 1 except for toward the end of that I did my full measure of G, full measure of D, full half a measure of C. So when I changed from C, I only did 2 beats there. So I hit beat 1 because it was the first one in the measure, and when I changed to my A minor chord, I just made sure I hit the root note first, and that ended up on beat 3. So anyway, and from there the notes don't really matter, except if you're doing a full measure, and the root note's primary. That you almost always want to do that. This is less so, but very, very common in the way I like to do it. If I'm doing a full measure or something, on beat 3, I want to hear the highest note of the chord. It's kind of like the turnaround point. So if I'm taking my G chord, that's my high note. So, and that kind of sets it up so that you end up doing, about half and half high notes and low notes. And you don't have to plot it out or anything. It's almost, I was going to say it's almost impossible. It's not, but I mean, as you do that, as you get used to it, you're not going to have to count it in your head. You're just going to kind of drift to that pattern because you've heard it a million times. I never, when I was learning how to do this a million years ago, I was, I think I had to, I don't remember because it was a long time ago, but I kind of remember having to make sure I got the bass note in the right place, but I don't ever remember thinking about the high note. So you'll most likely just drift to that naturally. So anyway, and in between there, it just doesn't matter what you're doing much. You just kind of, get a nice something that feels comfortable to play, and you just kind of change your chords. Some chords are bigger than others. Like for G, if I'm doing that pattern, I tend to jump over the 5th string. You don't have to, but I tend to because the chord has 6 strings in it, so I want to make sure I kind of get some high strings in there too. And if I include that 5th string, I often end up, doing too many low notes. That was terrible, but because I never play it that way. D is a very small chord, so D you kind of end up having to double up a little bit because we only have 4 notes, 4 strings in this. And C is in between, five notes there, and so is A minor. So you kind of have to consider the number of strings you're hitting. Anyway, that's all there is to it. Just kind of mess around with that. and you'll enjoy that style. There's one thing that style does make you do if you're playing, well, any arpeggio actually. You know, if you're strumming along, you know, you kind of get the freebie eighth note at the end of the measure. You know, you get to change with your chord up. When you're playing arpeggios, you got to get, you know, you have to get to the root note immediately. So if I'm changing from like D to C, I have to get there fast because I need that. I don't get that freebie eighth note, you know, the percussive eighth note at the end of the measure. And also, I assume you're already doing this. If not, there's a video over on the website, www.LiveVideoGuitarLessons.com, that talks about stabilizing your picking hand when you're playing individual notes. And all I'm doing, I'm holding on to, just a quick recap. Most people do this naturally, but I'm holding on to the first string with my third finger here. So when I need the first string, I just simply drop it down a little bit. And what it does, it just helps me find the strings better. I'm not trying to float over the strings, and you know, it's too hard to do that way. Well, not too hard, but you're a lot more accurate if you're holding something on the guitar, touching the guitar. You don't have to hold the string, just touching somewhere over here closer to the pick. So anyway, all right. Well, thanks for tuning in for this practice tip. Tune in again tomorrow for another one, and I will see you next time. Thanks.